Hi, I would like to talk to you today about suicide. Suicide is not a very good subject to talk about, and it's not one of my favorite subjects either. But I would like to share about it because of personal experience and to help people who are maybe considering suicide or have had people who have committed suicide in their lives. Suicide touched home in my family numerous times, and it has made a very large impact on my family's lives. So I'm going to share with you a bit of our history. In 2004, I had moved to Oregon from San Francisco, and my niece had been in an abusive relationship, abusive marriage. I didn't know the extreme or a lot of the details until after I had arrived in Oregon. I'd only been in town a few weeks, and my niece calls me one evening at 9 p.m. crying. Her and her husband had been in an argument, and she wanted me to come pick her up. I said sure, you know, but then she proceeded to keep telling me about the situation, and I listened. And then I said, what time would you like me to come over? And then she said, well, let me ask my husband. Well, she hung up, and then she called me back, and she said, he won't let me, he told me I could come, but he won't let me bring our daughter, and I won't come without my daughter. So I said, well, do you want me to come over tomorrow? And maybe I can come over tomorrow about 2 p.m. and maybe mediate between you and your husband? And she said, sure. Well, in the meantime, he gets on the phone and he tells me to mind my own business, and then he proceeds to tell me many bad things about my niece, calling her names and things, and their daughter was there who was about 5 years old, and I said, I don't think you should be calling my niece names in front of her daughter. Well, anyway, he told me to butt out, and it's none of my business. And then I could hear my niece in the background crying, telling me no, you know, because she doesn't want him trying to influence, trying to get me to take his side in the story. So anyway, we had talked a little bit, her husband and I, you know, and he was telling me his side of the story. And so then we hung up, and I had planned on coming the next day at 2 p.m. To visit them. And then in the morning I was going to call and get their address. Well, that was at 9 p.m. At 12 o'clock, I'm sleeping and I get a phone call. And it's his voice on the other end, her husband's. And he says, the fucking bitch killed herself. I said, what? What? What do you mean? I'm thinking he's joking, being a jerk or something. Yeah, the ambulance is here. She's dead. Call her mom. I'm thinking, what a jerk. You know, what the hell? I just talked to her 3 hours ago. She said she would never leave her daughter to come to my house, and now she killed herself? I'm thinking there's foul play involved, right? So I stayed up all night, you know, calling family members and just grieving. And then they said that she committed suicide. They said she overdosed on pills. Well, supposedly she had tried to overdose a few times before, and this time she was successful. So I called the coroner's office the next day, seeing if there was any foul play of a fight or struggle or bruises or anything on her body, and there wasn't. So she had taken her life. So on the 3 or 4 days later was the funeral, and this was my sister's only daughter. And my sister was very, very upset. Well, any parent is going to be upset if their child dies. And but there's something just didn't feel right in my spirit. So I said, I'm going to make a point of calling my sister every Saturday, because she lives in Seattle, which is 3 hours away from me, and I'm going to check on her every Saturday. So the following Saturday, I called her and her husband, and it was at 8 a.m. on a And her husband answers the phone, and I said, "Hi, is my sister there?" And he said, "Yes, but the ambulance is here and we can't wake her up." So I get in the car and I head on to the hospital in Seattle. She's in a coma. She too had overdosed on Tylenol. Well, my sister had a liver problem and she needed a transplant. And she knew she wasn't supposed to take Tylenol because Tylenol is damaging to the liver. Yeah, damaging to the liver. And she knew she wasn't supposed to take it. Her doctor warned her, no Tylenol. So she too overdosed on Tylenol and she was in a coma for 3 days. I stood by her side for 3 days, trying to get her to hold on, trying to get her to pull through, going over our childhood, going over everything I possibly could to ask her to forgive me for anything I'd ever done. Staying by her side, reading her the Bible, praying with her, posting pictures of her granddaughter, her only daughter's daughter, on the walls, trying to get her to come out of it. She didn't make it. She didn't make it. They pulled the life supports off of her, and she didn't make it. 3 years later, on the anniversary of their death, my sister's only son checks himself in to a hotel, puts 2 morphine patches on his back, takes a bottle of pills and a bottle of whiskey, and takes his own life too. My sister was my best friend. My niece and my nephew were like children to me. I just talked to my nephew 2 days before he did that. I was the last person that my niece talked to. When you commit suicide, you leave us with all the what ifs. What if I could have been there sooner? What if I shouldn't have gone to her house, my niece's house, that night? Shouldn't I have got her address that night and went there? I should have known that it was more serious. I should have gotten more details. I should have been closer and checked more on my nephew. I should have been more of a mother to my nephew because his mother had passed away. All the what ifs. All the what ifs. If you're depressed and you feel like taking your life and committing suicide, you need to get help. You need to talk to your doctor, you need to talk to a counselor, you need to talk to a family member, a friend. Yes, we all feel hopeless at times, and we all think, oh, it's better if we can, not hear anymore. And most of us don't act on it, but many people do. And if you feel depressed, and if you want to take your own life, and if it keeps weighing on your shoulders and you keep trying to plot ways to get out and do things to take your life, that's pretty serious. And you need to think about us, the people you will leave behind. Because we're the ones that have to live without you. We're the ones. You might think it's honorable to take your own life. You might think it's honorable. You might think, oh, at least I have some say-so with my final passing. But what about us, the ones you leave behind? It's very selfish of you. Very selfish of you to take your own life. You need to get help. Counseling, doctor, change your lifestyle, do something. But you need to talk to somebody about how you're feeling and change your lifestyle. And think about those you are leaving behind. God has given you this life to live while you're here. It is not your choice to take it. It is not right for you to take it. We have to live it the best we can. So if you're thinking about taking your life, you're so depressed, and you feel that there's nothing else to live for, look around you. Step outside. There is a lot to live for out there. A lot. Thank you. And also, talk to God. He will give you the strength. Thank you.